Most men think they understand attraction. They don't. They think it's about being tall, being rich, being handsome, being funny, being the guy who says the right thing at the right moment. And then they spend years doing all of that, and still wonder why the right woman never stays. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Women don't choose men the way men think they do. They don't make a list. They don't sit down and score you. They don't decide with their brain first. They decide with something much deeper than that. And once you understand what that is, everything changes. How you carry yourself changes. How you think about rejection changes. How you build your life changes. Stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you won't just understand how women choose. You'll understand why most men never get chosen, and exactly what separates the ones who do. We're going to cover 4 things today. The first one most men already know, but they're getting it completely wrong. The second one makes men uncomfortable, because it forces them to be honest with themselves. The third one is something almost no one talks about. And the fourth, that one will hit different. Let's get into it. 1. Women don't choose who you are. They choose who you feel like. Read that again. Not who you are. Who you feel like. Because here's what most men don't realize. A woman cannot see your work ethic in the first 5 minutes. She cannot see your loyalty. She cannot see your ambition. She cannot see your character. What she can feel, immediately, is your energy. Are you calm or are you nervous? Are you present or are you performing? Do you move like a man who knows where he's going, or like a man who's still figuring out if he's allowed to be in the room? That feeling she gets when she's around you, that's the first filter. And most men fail it before they ever open their mouth. They walk in with their shoulders forward, eyes down, voice low, apologizing for their own presence. Not with words. With body language. With hesitation. With that invisible signal that says, I'm not sure I belong here. And women feel that. Instantly. Now here's the part men need to hear. This is not about being loud. Not about being aggressive. Not about pretending to be confident when you're not. It's about settling into yourself. A man who is genuinely comfortable in his own skin doesn't need to announce it. He doesn't need to perform. He just walks in, speaks when he has something to say, and doesn't shrink just because someone's watching. That energy is rare. And that energy is magnetic. So before you worry about what to say to a woman, ask yourself this. What does it feel like to be around you? Is your presence heavy with anxiety? Or is it steady, grounded, easy to be near? Because that is the first thing she chooses. Not your face. Not your height. Your feeling. And once you understand that, the second point makes complete sense. 2. Women choose men who have already chosen themselves. This one cuts deep for a lot of guys. Because here's what most men do. They put their lives on hold. They postpone their health, their goals, their habits, their growth, waiting. Waiting for a relationship to motivate them. Waiting for a woman to give them a reason to become better. That's backwards. A woman is not a finish line. She's not a reward you get for being miserable long enough. The men who attract serious, quality women, they're not searching. They are building. Every single day. Not for her. For themselves. They wake up early not to impress anyone. They train not to look good in photos. They read, they work, they invest in their craft, because they've decided that their life is worth taking seriously. And here's what that does. It creates a pull. A man who is genuinely absorbed in building something real, a career, a skill, a vision, a version of himself he's proud of, that man walks differently. Talks differently. He doesn't need constant validation because he already has a relationship with his own progress. Women feel that difference immediately. There's a version of a man who talks about his goals and a version who is quietly living them. One is asking for belief. The other is simply showing up as proof. Women choose the proof. So stop waiting for motivation to come from the outside. Stop looking for a woman to complete what you haven't started. Choose yourself first. Build your life first. Become someone you genuinely respect, and watch how differently the world, and the women in it, respond to you. But there's something even more important than what you build. It's how you handle what challenges you. 3. Women choose men by watching how they handle pressure. Nobody talks about this one enough. Most conversations about attraction focus on the good moments. The dates. The chemistry. The first impression. But women are watching something else entirely. They're watching what you do when things go wrong. How do you handle a bad week at work? How do you respond when plans fall apart? How do you behave when you're frustrated, when you're tired, when life isn't going your way? Do you collapse? Do you blame everything around you? Do you go silent and disappear? Do you lash out? Or do you stay level? Do you adapt? Do you keep going without making everyone around you feel the weight of your stress? This is what separates men in a woman's eyes. Because here's the reality. Life is not always going to be smooth. Relationships have hard seasons. Finances get tight. People face loss. Careers hit walls. And a woman, whether she's conscious of it or not, is always asking herself one quiet question. When things get hard, can I count on this man? Not can he fix everything. Not can he have the perfect answer. But can he stay steady when the ground is shaking? That steadiness, that ability to hold yourself together under pressure without falling apart or shutting down, is one of the most attractive things a man can develop. It can't be faked. It can't be performed on a date. It's built over time through doing hard things. Through choosing discipline over comfort. Through not running away from difficulty. The man who has done that work, who has faced his fears, managed his emotions, handled his problems without becoming a victim, that man has something written all over him. Women notice. Even when they can't explain why. We're halfway through, and we haven't even gotten to the most important point yet. Before we continue, if this is making you think differently, drop a comment right now. Just say, I'm building. I want to see who's really watching. All right. Let's get into the 4th point. This one changes the whole conversation. 4. The man women truly choose is the man who doesn't need to be chosen. This is the one most men miss entirely. Because after everything, the looks, the money, the status, the pressure, there's still one thing that defines how women ultimately decide. It's your sense of self. Not your self-esteem as a buzzword. Not confidence as a performance. Your actual, genuine knowledge of who you are, what you want, and what you will not tolerate. A man with a clear sense of self doesn't chase. He doesn't follow a woman around trying to convince her. He doesn't over-explain himself. He doesn't change his values to fit someone's preference. He doesn't beg for a chance. He simply is, and either you want to be around that or you don't. And here's the thing nobody tells men. That kind of man is almost impossible to find. Because most men, from a young age, have been trained to seek approval. From parents, from teachers, from friends, from women. They've learned to shrink, to adjust, to perform, to change whatever needs changing to get the reaction they want. And that habit, that constant adapting just to be liked, it destroys your core. After years of that, a man doesn't know who he actually is anymore. He just knows what different people want him to be. Women feel that emptiness. They might not call it that, but they feel it. Contrast that with a man who knows his own mind, who speaks plainly, who makes decisions without flinching, who has a direction and moves toward it regardless of who's watching. That man doesn't have to try hard. He doesn't have to play games. He doesn't have to win anyone over. He just has to show up as himself, fully, and let that be enough. And here's the truth about selection that nobody puts in a video. Women don't just choose men. They choose experiences of men. They choose the way a man makes them feel about themselves when they're around him. They choose the stability, the clarity, the groundedness that a man carries. And the only way to give a woman that is to actually have it. You can't fake a solid foundation. You can only build one. So, how do women really choose men? They choose the feeling you carry before you even speak. They choose the man who has already decided to build a life worth living. They choose the man who stays steady when everything around him shakes. And more than anything, they choose the man who knows himself well enough that he doesn't need to be chosen to feel whole. That's the answer. Not a pickup line. Not a strategy. Not a list of tricks. A man. A real, grounded, self-directed man. And the good news, that man can be built. Not overnight. Not without effort. But it can be done. So start today. Not tomorrow. Not when things get easier. Today. Because every day you spend waiting for someone to choose you is a day you could have spent becoming the man worth choosing. If this video changed how you see things, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And for the next step, watch this video right here. It goes even deeper. Let's build.